Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Feeling like a Monday, but it's a Tuesday. Megan, you look so on brand with that photo behind you.
I'm really happy about this.
I know.
Like, I moved my camera so that it wasn't like that. I was like, look at this pretty background.
I feel like no matter what color you're gonna wear too, it's just gonna like
Oh
pop.
yeah, it's so good.
Hello, Kayla.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Landon. Let me continue to let people in. Did everybody have a good Labor Day weekend? Yes. I feel like Labor Day should be earlier, right? Let's see. Good morning. I got my AI recording going. Okay. Let me share my screen. First off, who had wins over the last week since we had our last mastermind? How did you win this past week? Hello, Ryan. Hello, Miss Ann.
Hello.
Couple of things go under contract.
Yeah. Woohoo.
Yay.
Under contracts.
Yep, yep.
Megan, how did you win?
I got my first under contract.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
You got a buyer under contract? Yay. I had a few people message me. I posted one on the Facebook group page. If you're not in our private group, I would get in our private group because, especially after this class, I'm going to start posting a lot of tools in there, scripts from today, tools that we use in our buyer side business, and just other things that we're doing. And I love when people can share wins. But I had an agent on last week and she went and converted two buyers after. Hello, Miss Heather. See your Molly. Welcome. Okay. Hello, Molly from South Florida. We have Albuquerque, New Mexico. We got all over the place, which I love to see that. All right, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to jump into the presentation. We have so much, which I hope you guys feel like it's good. I feel like it's good content to cover today. And it's really content that invaluable knowledge that you're going to probably be able to use for years and years to come, even maybe in your personal life a little bit. But today we are going to really dive into you have a buyer lead. Now what? What do you do with them next to get them to commit to you? Here in North Carolina, we now have what's called the 220, which is essentially the confirmation of agency compensation, which has been a huge hiccup. It's wild to think it's been a year since we had this, and there's still agents that are definitely struggling with it. So we're going to talk just how what we have done, how we've changed our process so that this new buyer agency compensation is not a huge hang up in our business. We're going to review some scripts and then we're going to talk about how do you properly show a house to the four disc, the driver, the influencer, the one who likes stability, and the one who likes consistently. And what I found as an agent when I first started out was I was showing and leading people how I wanted to be led. And I had to realize that most of the world is not a DI personality. And I had to change how I showed houses, how I did the buyer consultation, how I really helped people move forward based upon who they are as people. So we're going to review that today. And this can be knowledge that helps you in every aspect of your not life, not just selling houses, but in relationships in general. So we're first going to, talk about you have a buyer lead, now what? By a raise of hands or in the group chat, who here does a buyer, what I call the buyer guide, the buyer presentation, the buyer consultation with every single buyer that you work with in some capacity? Why do we feel like this is beneficial? How does it change the tone of how a buyer is really led when you do this? I know when I do it and I do it consistently and I do it with deep purpose and impact, it makes the transaction go so much smoother because it allows them to trust me to really it gives me the position where I gain the authority of this is what it's going to look like. Here's how I'm going to help you. This is how you're going to lean on me. This is what you're going to expect. This is what's normal. This is what's not normal. And by the way, what is it that you're really needing in a house? Not what is it you want? What is it you really need? And does the market allow for that? So it allows me to help them at a much higher level and develop trust, clarity, confidence in my leadership from day one. So, twofold, I do this two ways. I either do it old school in person, especially if I don't know the person. If it's a lead that you've never ever met, you don't have a prior relationship with, you have to feel that person's energy. You can't possibly do that on a phone call, even via Zoom. Like, I do Zoom because I can touch people all over the world, but I'd much rather be in a room with you. Would you not all agree that energy is different? You can hear a song playing on the radio. It's different when you're at a concert. Like you feel other people's energy. There is so much that people don't verbally convey because essentially we're like on when you're on Zoom or when you're on a phone call. You can't hide energy when you're in person. If you've ever done an in-person buyer consultation versus one via Zoom versus one that's recorded, you know when somebody feels intimidated to talk about their finances, you feel their energy shift. Or you feel their energy shift when you're asking, why is this move important to you? They can hide things in this type of setting. But when you get them in person and you ask them, why is this move important to you? They're more than likely to say, because I need to be closer to my mom. She's going through cancer and I need to be within 10 minutes of her. Right now, I'm 45 minutes or an hour from her. I need to be closer. They're more likely to tell you those heartfelt, deep things that are really triggering them to make a move. While that's important for you to know that throughout the process, is you're going to know the why behind the emotions that you're getting. So I first and foremost encourage in-person consultations above and beyond. However, adapting to how the world works right now, especially since we have this new 220, where in North Carolina, we have to have this sign before we go show them a house, which I think that in most states is that way. We now have to capture them and make them feel like we're following our process and that this is normal no matter what buyer it is we're working with before we go show them the house. Before, we could just go show them the house, give them a little bit of what they want, but then do the buyer consultation in the house. Now we really need to do the buyer consultation before we go show them the house. So I've adapted. What that looks like for me is I've actually recorded my buyer consultation. I have it in Loom and in Zoom, but I recorded it. And now I send out a templated email with that consultation embedded in it. And if you want to screenshot this, you're more than welcome to. But this is somebody, they're wanted to see one of our listings. They didn't want to have buyer representation at all at first. So what I did was I sent them our buyer guide, a link to it, which is hosted on our website actually, outlining everything. I sent them our consultation, which reviews me reviewing the buyer consultation in a video-like format. I think it's like 7 to 10 minutes. I let them know, like, as of August of last year, a buyer agency's agreement is required prior to showing any house. And just letting them know too, when you submit offers, I want them to know that the buyer agency compensation, we are getting covered 99.9% of the time. Right now, so many agents are freaking caught up in their buyers saying they're pushing back, they're pushing back. They're pushing back because you're not telling them reality. Reality is 99% of the time, we have gotten the buyer agent compensation paid by the seller. Who here by a raise of hands or in the chat has not gotten it paid by the seller? When have any of your buyers had to pay it out of pocket? Has anybody even had that happen?
I've had mine had to pay like a small portion, but the majority of it's covered by the seller.
Yeah. So it's like we've, as agents, have programmed in our mind that this is like a hurdle that's going to keep us from being able to like show houses and make offers and ask for the compensation. I will tell you, looking even at ours, I told my agents, if you are going to ask for it, ask for three. Caroline said mine had to pay half. But that's one out of how many? So 99% of the time we're getting paid. And I would say probably 50 to 60% of the time, we're actually getting paid more than what we would have if we would have just taken the 2.4 or the 2.5 that was listed in the MLS. We are getting 3% a decent amount of the time right now. This is a point in time in your career as a buyer's agent, you can actually convey your value and ask for it and receive it versus just taking the 2.4 or the 2% or whatever is in the MLS. So do it. Whether it's in person or whether you do it in the format I've been doing it, really just to streamline my time a little bit, it works. I'm getting my buyer agency signed before I even go show houses as an exclusive buyer's agent, not even a one-time showing, almost every single time. And the reason why is because I'm conveying my value from the get-go. If they're not able to come and meet with me in person, first and foremost, that's a red flag. If they're not willing to take the time to come and meet with you, are they really that serious? Or are they just busy? Okay, they're busy and maybe they're not ready to be that intimate. Do this. Do your buyer consultation via Zoom or Loom. Send them the buyer guide. You will know right away, based upon how they respond to this, what their personality style is. And then you tailor your presentation accordingly. These people, just to let you know, after I sent this to them, they said, we're more than welcome to work with you as a buyer's agency. We're okay in dual agency. We'll go ahead and sign all the documents. They signed all the documents. We went and saw the house on that Friday. They came back and looked at it a second time, made an offer on it, and we're under contract. I knew right away, based upon their tendency and how they reacted to this, that they were a D personality. I knew they were a D instantly just by their tonality and their preciseness and they're willing to move forward quickly. When I met them in person, high energy, high emotion, high excitement, super high I personality. They were ready to go. Husband, maybe a little bit more S and C, but he has a D. He's probably like a DC personality. Like he's in the details. He wants to know the finances, but he's driven and can like determine instantly what he wants to do. And we move forward quickly. They're easy people to work with. But knowing what people are like from the get-go means you have to lead them differently. If we sat down and they were calling me, asking me a billion questions about the buyer agency form, who's going to pay for what, how does the process work, I would have known right then they were S&C personality that I probably needed to slow down and spend a little bit more time with and get them on the phone. And maybe a second layer of this would be, okay, let's come in now that you've seen this, let's come into the office and let's dive through this. I've also had, when I've sent this to people, I have had people instantly respond with a list this long of like, these are our must-haves. This is what we're looking for. These are the areas. And I know right away, like they're in the details, but they're also like thought out, methodical, and I have to meet them where they're at. Let me get these people in from the waiting room. Hold on one second. I gotta stop sharing. Admit all. Okay. All right, let me go back to sharing. I also have just started to create, and I know a few girls on my team have it too, but essentially what I'm calling a dream home survey. And what that looks like is literally just a Google form that prompts them through the list of questions that I'm actually going to include in my email to them that says, why are you looking for, how many bedrooms are you looking for? How many bathrooms? What area? All the basics, but like why? Why are 3 bedrooms important to you? Why is living in this area important to you? Because I think right now in our world, there's a lot more people that will give you more information in a form like that versus you just asking them in person. So I'm trying to tailor my options that I'm delivering to my clients to adapt to them. A DI personality is probably not going to be afraid to tell me what they want bluntly. An S&C person probably doesn't mind filling out a Google form and giving me all the details and like processing it. So I'm adapting to that and realizing certain personalities like the buyer consultation this way, some of them like it this way. So I'm adapting it accordingly. Before I dive into the buyer consultation, I first wanted to talk about this because I think this is the meat and potatoes of what a lot of people are looking for. Working through the 220, you have to follow a process. I know a lot of agents have came to me and said, how are you getting the buyer agency form signed before showing a house? I'm just not making that big of a deal about it. I'm going through the buyer consultations. I'm emailing the buyer consultations out. I'm letting people know this is just normal. Guys, most of the US does not realize that this isn't normal. They don't buy and sell houses every single year and realize things have changed. So I'm just following the process and saying, okay, here's the buyer consultation. We've completed it. I know what you're looking for in a home. I'm going to send you the buyer agency docs, and I just keep it moving. I don't call every single seller before I go show houses and find out if they're paying a compensation. I know that I'm a good negotiator and I'm going to just have that be part of my negotiation from the get-go. I'm not making a big deal about it. The thing I hate as a listing agent, keep in mind I mostly do listings, is agents that call me, how much do you ask? How much are you offering? How much are you offering? Well, guess what? There's some of my buyers, or excuse me, some of my sellers right now that would probably say I'm offering 2 to 2.5%. But if you brought them a full price offer today, they'd pay 3%. You're actually hurting yourself by not asking for it. Ask for 3%. Write the offer up. There are sellers that are ready to reduce the price of their house. Make them a full price offer or close to full price offer and ask for 3%. I promise you, you're probably going to get it more than you even realize. You have to lead with confidence. You got to lead with clarity. You got to just act like this is normal business. If you're allowing yourself to be triggered by these changes, your clients are going to feel it. They don't know any different. So don't make a big deal about it. I'm not going to go into details. There's a few scripts I'm going to go over, but you just got to do the things. Just keep it moving. They just want to buy the house. They want to buy the house in a way that makes them feel like they're winning. Sometimes them winning is just getting in the house that they want to get in. You'll figure everything else out along the way. So here's a few scripts just to overcome the 220. I'm actually going to put these in our Facebook page. I'm going to go over a few of these though. So script number one, the professional standard. So when you get somebody that calls and, says, do I have to sign one of those forms? Here's a few scripts that you can tell them. Before we go see any homes together, I do require all of my clients to sign the exclusive buyer agency agreement. This ensures that I can represent you with your best interest in mind. Without it, technically, I work for the seller, and I don't ever want you to feel like you're at a disadvantage. It doesn't lock you into buying a home. You're only buying if you find the right fit. What it does is guarantee that you get my full expertise, negotiation skills, and protection throughout the process. Okay, so that's one script you can use. Script two. You wouldn't let a doctor diagnose you without being their patient, right? Same thing here. I can't legally or ethically advise you on a home unless you've hired me as your agent through the exclusive buyer agency agreement. This protects you and assures you that everything we discuss is 100% confidential and in your best interest. The seller already has an agent working for them. You need one too. And do you guys feel like these scripts would even be hard for you to say? They're probably already part of your language in some capacity. These are just scripts I would practice if you are getting caught up on the 220. Or the buyer, whatever you guys call it in your state. Script three, my role is to help you win, not just unlock doors. To do that, we need the exclusive buyer agency agreement signed before any showings. It allows me to give you the full advice on pricing, strategy, repairs, and negotiations. Without it, I legally can't go all in for you. It's really your ticket to having me in your corner. That's something I would probably say. That one's the most like my personality. Script four, the risk avoider. If we tour a home without the exclusive buyer agency agreement and you love it, the listing agent can claim you as their client, and I legally wouldn't be able to help to fight for you. Signing this first ensures that I can protect your earnest money, negotiate the best terms, and shield you from the risk you might not even see coming. And then the last one is the straight shooter, the savage truth. I don't just open doors. Any agent can do that. My job is to make sure you don't overpay, don't get taken advantage of, and win in this market. To do that, we've got to sign this exclusive buyer agency agreement. That's the moment you hire me to go to work for you. If you're not ready to hire an agent yet, that's okay, but I only show homes to my clients. Which one was your favorite one? If you guys would drop that in the chat. I like 3 and 5. 3 and 5, I think, is probably more my language. I think the more that you can shoot people straight, you actually can sometimes get a better reaction from people because you seem very confident when yep, 3 and 5, 5. Absolutely. 5. Everybody loves, I like that you guys are savages. This tells me I need to be more savage when I present to you. But it's the truth. The truth is the truth, right? I think sometimes we don't value ourselves enough and we don't stand up for like everything we do for people. And you, as buyers right now, as a buyer's agent, you're working harder than you probably have in years. You're having to start show a few more houses. And now I don't know if it's this way everywhere in the US, but we're having repair requests that are tens of thousands of dollars right now that are more difficult to navigate than they ever have been before. You need to stand up for yourself and convey your value at a much higher level and let people really know by going through the buyer consultation, this is everything you really do for them. You don't just open the door and write offers like we were doing during COVID. You're actually helping negotiate. You're helping them find the right lenders that are the least amount out of pocket for them, that have the best rates. You're having to navigate due diligence requests again and have a vendor list and coordinate inspections, coordinate quotes. You're helping balance their emotions throughout the process. We're having a lot of people buy and sell right now. That's emotional and stressful at the same time. Like it's a lot more than what it was a few years ago. All the meanwhile, keeping yourself like mentally sane while you have life going on around you. It's a lot. You need to let them know that a lot of the value that you bring are the relationships you already have and the knowledge. If you've already done this before, you know how to handle a $30,000 inspection request. You know what's normal, and you can keep their nerves at bay to help navigate yourself through it. Um, Moral of the story, at the end of every buyer consultation, whether it's done virtually, whether it's done via email, whether it's done in person, your next step should always be to have an exclusive buyer agency signed within 24 hours before you go show them homes, especially. If they're still teeter-tottering, get the one day or the one house signed. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not signing no one buyer. I'm not showing houses to people that are just going to look at one house. I'm always going to get the exclusive buyer agency signed. That's just my standard. If you're not gonna commit to me, I'm not committing to you. My time's too precious. As a newer agent, would I have been that way? Probably not. I would have been doing one days, but I would have asked for the exclusive first, 100% of the time. I would have asked, and if they say no, then do the one day. But I would have went all in from the get-go. I would have put 3% on it. I would ask for exclusive buyer agency, and I would have just kept it moving forward. What you don't realize sometimes is your confidence becomes their peace. Your lack of confidence becomes their chaos. They need to feel led by you. And when you're leading yourself well and setting boundaries and protecting yourself, you're actually showing them how to work with you. If you're bringing negative, anxious energy to them, I promise you the process is going to be negative and anxious and worry throughout the whole transaction. But if you start the transaction with confidence, this is how I'm going to work for you. I'm going to show you the house. If you're a seasoned agent and you've done it many other times before, tell that story online. So when they come in to meet with you, they already know that you've made shit happen for other people. And they trust in you and they want to work with you because of it. We've had a lot of people come to us just because we found other people houses off market. We oftentimes don't just wait for a house to hit the MLS. Tell me what you want. I'll go door knock houses for you. This past week, I had this lady reach out to me who I already went on a listing appointment with. And she said to me, and I knew when I met with her, I told her, the house you're looking for is not a house we're finding in the MLS. I know we're going to have to go door knock. So I want you to start driving around, find houses, send me addresses, and I'd be more than happy to go door knock them for you. So this weekend, I got 2 addresses that I need to go door knock for her. But I would have been lying to her if I wouldn't have told her the truth. And I would have just said, okay, we're going to wait for this $1 million house on 10 acres to hit the market that doesn't exist. But those don't come on the market every day. But I'll go find you one. She already saw that I've done that for other people. She knew I would do it, but I told her I would do it too at the buyer consultation, at the listing presentation. Your truth to them is what makes them have confidence in you. Don't allow your buyer consultations to be feel good butterfly. You need to tell them sometimes you're not ready to buy a house in today's market. This market is not for you. Or you need to tell them this market is for you. And right now it's actually beneficial for you because I have lenders that are willing to cover a portion of your closing costs. Rates are 5.5% to 6% right now, especially if you can get in with state employees credit union. There's 5 or 6 houses on the market that I know match your search criteria, and we can negotiate right now. So let's go see some houses and let's make an offer. And what I do is I don't just send them houses. I send them houses and then I also go to them and say, hey, yes, I set you up on a search. This house is not for you, but this house is. And I've spoken to that listing agent and I know that that seller is willing to negotiate. I know it's about $10,000 above your price point. Let's go take a look at it and let's make an offer. That's when you need to be communicating with listing agents, is when your buyers are potentially interested in a house that they have listed. You need to find out the state of mind that that seller is in right now to be able to present them an offer. I reached out to a listing agent last week and she said, we've just reduced 10,000. But if you can get it to be a quick close, I know them, like they'll tell you the things you need to know to be able to win a house for your buyer. So don't be afraid. Like I love when buyers agents reach out to me and say, "Hey, what's your seller's position and what can we do to bring a deal together?" Back in the day, before we had so much technology, that's how I saw so many agents bring deals together because we oftentimes don't realize the state that the seller's in, and then we have a buyer who would buy the house if we could get them closing costs and maybe $10,000 off the price of the house. So when you have a conversation between the buyer and the seller and you really try to meet in the middle and figure out how do we make this a win-win for both people, I promise you, you each could probably make one more deal come together a month if you were taking the time to have those conversations with the listing agents. I also believe you need to have a preferred lender that you work with very closely. Whenever I send over my buyer consultations, I include the lender contacts, but then I also let the lender know, hey, this buyer is going to reach out to you. Or I get permission from the buyer and I have the lender reach out to the buyer. I feel like the lender reaching out to the buyer is going to make it move quicker because whenever you set an expectation to a buyer that, hey, this lender is going to call you and talk you through the pre-approval process. And you really kind of like set an appointment in their mind, like they're going to contact you tomorrow at 4 o'clock if that works for you. It probably gets done quicker and it actually gets done probably 75% of the time or more versus you waiting for your buyer to reach out to the lender. That's always the sticking point that kind of halts the process is fear sets in and people hate to face their money, no matter how many times they do this. So the more that you can make that be an easy handoff or have your preferred lender engage with them, the easier that process can sometimes go. Um, so my standards of how I do business is you're signing the buyer agency and you're getting pre-approved unless I just know your financial makeup and know you're good before I ever go show you a house. And if you operate your business like that, I think you're telling the world like this is how I work. This is if you want to work with me, this is how it's going to look, you know? And if they don't know any different, they'll do the things. If they bought a house before, I think I said this on the last time, I had a $650,000 buyer reach out to me on Facebook saying, hey, I want to go see this house. And I said, great, let me know what your email address is. I'll send you the buyer consultation, send all that over. It was like on a Saturday night. They wanted to go see it on Sunday. I sent all that over to them, sent them the buyer forms. And I said, but I also need you to get pre-approved. Well, I don't need to get pre-approved. I know I can afford that house. Well, that's great. I'm grateful you know that. I don't know you from Adam. I'm not showing you that house till you get pre-approved. I'm not doing that to the seller, and I'm not taking an hour away from my kids because you're negligent to go get pre-approved. You're going to go get pre-approved, or I'm not going to show you the house. And I didn't go show them the house, and then they disappeared. Now, if that house would have been under contract in a day or two, I would have been pissed off at myself if it was that buyer. But, that didn't happen. I'm going to run you through our buyer guide really quick, but I'm also going to post it if you guys just want to go back and review it yourself. And really all our buyer guide and listing guide is I went and dissected buyer guides and listing guides from some of the top teams at EXP and just made it our own. I blended them. I put in there what I loved, what I didn't love. I changed things and how they flowed. We do update this link to the Facebook group. I'll post that at the end, Matt. But we update this, I would say, whenever the market's pivoting or when I've done it and I'm like, okay, this no longer is relevant or it's not connecting with people how I need it to. So, making your dreams, your real estate dreams a reality, connecting homes with people. I try to make this warm and fuzzy, but also lay out the details of what we're going to cover straight out of the get-go. So I'm kind of talking to every personality style. We first do a needs analysis. I found prior, whenever we'd go over the buyer consultation and it was all about the market and all about what we can do for you, it gets a buyer unengaged quickly. When we start out the buyer consultation, getting them engaged, asking them what they want, getting them to talk, getting them to tell us the things, it gets them to take their guard down and open up to us and start sharing and start connecting with us. Now, before they come in, I have already kind of figured out where do they live now? What circles are they a part of? What's their lifestyle look like? I haven't told them that, but when they come in here and they sit with me and I know that they're friends with a friend of mine or they play baseball on a friend of mine's team, when they start talking about their needs and wants and locations, I'll start to say, and this is how you make rapport. Oh, I see that you guys are out at EM Holt playing baseball quite often. You're part of the traveling baseball team that my friend's a part of. And whenever you can start to like connect who you know, you start to build trust and rapport with people on a personal, deep level, and you make them take their guard down and start telling you more. So I would tell you before people come in to meet with you, I would research them a little bit more and figure out who your mutual friends are, how would these people may know you, and how can they start to like, know, and trust you that you can then start to, I would say, overlay into your buyer consultation. So we gather information first. I'm a huge believer and it's a give and take. And when you're just telling it first and you're not giving them the opportunity to give to you, you're not going to get as much out of them. When I started doing the needs analysis in person and start asking them those questions and connecting with them, they begin to tell me so much more. And as I continue to connect with them throughout the consultation, they'll go back and say, oh, yeah, by the way, or they'll share more with me. We talk about their price range and budget. Some questions I ask here are this: how much do you want to afford monthly? What I find is 80% of the world lives on a monthly budget, not a how much house can you afford. So I talk to them about a monthly budget. I also ask them these three questions. Okay, they tell me their monthly max is they want to spend $3,000 a month. I know in my head right now in today's world, $3,000 a month is around, what is that? Three times six, around a three or $400,000 house. In my mind right now, given what rates are, that's around a $400,000 house. So I go back to them and say, if we found you the perfect house, after they've already told me these things, I go back to them and say, if we find the perfect house that's move-in ready, in the right neighborhood, has the pool that you want that you don't have to put in, has the fence already up, would you be willing to stretch your budget to 3,200 or 3,500? And if they say yes, then I know that I could put my search parameter up to 450,000. So I start to ask those questions that make me potentially dive a little bit deeper and find them the homes that they're looking for. Because right now, as rates are trending down, we're in a market where their buying power continues to go up. But I also realistically know in my mind, after they've given me their wants and needs, whether or not it's going to be realistic for them to find that. And when I know it's not, instead of just telling them, what I'll do is I'll pull up the MLS and I'll show them what you're looking for is probably a $500,000 house. So we need to change our wants and needs down to what does a $400,000 house look like? And I'll show them what a $400,000 house looks like. Or we need to save money, or I'll ask, do you have a 401k that you can borrow from? If they're selling and buying at the same time, we'll obviously talk about the equity that they could bridge over. But if they don't, they're a first-time buyer and they're approved for 400,000, but they're wanting a $500,000 house, you need to have a come into Jesus meeting. And I think at first when I was a new agent, I wasn't confident enough to tell people no, or this isn't realistic. And then I learned I can't tell them that. I have to show them. There's so much more power in showing versus telling. So I would now go in and show them like we're really at 400,000 unless you can find 50,000 more dollars somewhere, or we can buy your rate down, or we can work with a lender. You know, I've had a lot of people approved for 400,000 with a conventional lender, but they have state employees. And if they have state employees and it's 1% less, we can actually look at $475,000 houses. So this is where like your value and knowledge financially of lenders and lender programs will make or break your ability to find people's houses. So you need to figure out from all of your lenders, special loan programs, closing costs, state employees, credit union, what are they all able to offer your buyer so you can pair them up with the right lender to get them to move forward and be able to buy a house that they're really looking for. I always paint a picture too of what they're looking at, what the days on the market looks like, based upon their area. I let them know what inventory looks like, you know, how negotiable are people right now at that price point. If we know that there's a 4 to 6 month inventory supply, like we have like from 4 to 600,000 right now, I will let people know at that price point, you can negotiate, you can probably get closing costs paid for. But if it's a buyer that's looking at 300,000, that is not the case. Those houses are still in multiple offers sometimes. So I always paint a realistic picture of what does the market look like relative to what type of house you're looking for and what price point you're looking at. I always review our preferred lenders, but I also let them know like this is a lender I think you're going to match up with best. I would still get every, you know, your quotes and your rates from everybody, but these are the three lenders that we've worked with that have great rates. If I know that they need to be approved by a special program that only one lender specifically offers, I will direct them to that lender and say this is the only lender I know that can do this for you. I also let them know of what to do, what not to do during the lending process, why you should choose certain lenders. I talk about this, especially with first-time buyers who don't have a clue, because the last thing I want to do is run up to chaos at the end of the trail because I didn't tell them to not pay a bill or to go buy a car. Like, don't buy a car, don't buy furniture, make sure, and this is what I always say, make sure your financial makeup when you get pre-approved is the same or better. I also tell them don't go pay off debt. That can actually hurt you. So I let them know like some things that I've seen over the years to not do. We then talk about when is the best time for them to see houses. I let them know straight up, I'm only showing you 3 or 4 houses a day. If I show you more than that, you're going to get confused. We're not going to look at 20 houses in one day. I ask them what times a day work best for them. And I also let them know sometimes you're probably going to have one of my showing agents working with you to see the houses. But if it's a house that you want to offer on, I'll go take a look at it or we'll set up a second showing. We lay out the elements of the offer. In North Carolina, we have the price, the due diligence money. We let them know the due diligence money is non-refundable. We let them know during the due diligence process, here's everything we're going to do. Oh, wow. I didn't know I could change pages that fast. I'm sorry. That's annoying. But I let them know what everything is included in the offer so they're prepared for it. I also let them know the flow of this is the typical time frame. This is what we should ask for. And then I go into why us, here's all the things. Stephanie's our transaction coordinator. She's going to help facilitate the contract, yada, yada, yada. We go over all this stuff, the team. We go over the due diligence process and really what it looks like in today's time. And then we let them know, like, what are your out-of-pocket expenses going to be? I never want to just blindly lead somebody to show a house, make an offer, and they don't even have money to cover the inspections. And I'm only telling you this because when I was a new agent, I did not tell people this. And I would get to it and they're like, oh, it's going to be, if you buy a house in the county and you have a home inspection, a pest inspection, well and septic, you're well over $1,000. Most first-time buyers don't have an extra $1,000 laying around all the time. So I learned the hard way that I was not telling them in details enough of this is how much money you're going to need out of pocket. This is how much money your down payment is. We actually started doing, and I'm going to go over at the next class, a buyer net sheet, which shows people this is how much you're getting financed. This is how much is your down payment. This is how much you're going to be bringing out of pocket. So it really showed them everything that it's going to take for them to move forward. We went back and added this since due diligence requests are getting crazy. But what do home inspectors look at? But what are most common home inspection issues? And what this really does is it sets a standard and an expectation that not every house is perfect. Every house is going to have some stuff. I'm going to remind you after we do the home inspection that we're going to ask for items that are large in nature, that are material facts, that are, you guys know, I don't need to go over all that with you, but I go over all that with them. We're not asking for nail pops. We're not asking for cosmetic things. We're not asking for a door to be replaced where we knew it wasn't functioning well when we showed the house. We're only asking for real things. You need to set this standard now and then follow it up whenever it happens. And then what does it cost to work with the A team? This is where we branch in to the 220. We let them know that 99% of the time that we're negotiating it on for the seller to pay us. This is what that buyer net sheet looks like. And it really shows them, based upon their offers that they're potentially going to make, what they're going to be looking at coming up with out of pocket. I will sometimes pull up a buyer net sheet and do this for them at the buyer consultation. So they see from the get-go, and I know that they're prepared to come up with $25,000 or $15,000. But this also allows us to have the conversation of, I don't have $24,000. So I'm going to negotiate on your behalf to get your closing costs paid. It allows you to start having conversations of how you really can help them win in today's market, or are they even able to buy in today's market? This allows you to get nitty-gritty in the details of people's finances without it really seeming too invasive, with it being a place where they can face their truth of where they're at and are they prepared to buy a house. If you avoid this, I promise you this is going to come up. This is like the numbers and the stuff you can't avoid that's going to come up in your in your process of helping them buy a house at some point in time or another. And that's our buyer guide. Short, sweet, and simple, to the point, but with enough substance and details to get people through that. Does anybody have any questions or any ahas or any things you saw on that buyer guide that you feel like you need to add to yours? Does everyone on your team use that? They use that or their own version of that, Joyce. Some people have added things in or taken things out, but we give that to everyone just for substance and really to convey the value of the team too.
Hey, Amber.
Yes. Hey, Matt.
How often do you or mostly the agents in your team practice the buyer consult?
That's a good question to ask the girls on my team. Not enough. I will say as a new agent, oftentimes I grew up in a brokerage where there's a lot of older agents that were not going to be role playing with me. I put myself in positions where I would practice on consumers. I tell my team, if you don't have anybody to role play with you, you always have Zoom or Loom. Get on there and record yourself and then rewatch yourself. And what could you have done better? What was your energy like? What was your facial expressions like? Where did you stumble over words? Until I was 100% confident in it, um, I would tell you it's probably something you need to do at least 2 to 3 times a week if you're mainly going to be working with buyers. Look, Megan said I'm new, but I've sent a video of me walking through it to everybody so far. But Megan, if you would come off mute, tell me, what did you, when you videoed yourself, what was like your aha that you had?
I think just how much prep work is required for people before they even go. Like I was past some of that already, like by the time I sent them the video, but just so that I'm not wasting my time making sure that they're pre-approved, like making sure that we figure out what their like wants and needs are before you get too far down the line. Because with me being new, a lot of my leads are coming in already ready to see a house. Like that's like kind of where we're starting. And so I'm like, hold on, back up.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll go see that. But let's, get to know each other in the process of that too.
hmm I feel naked or exposed when I haven't done a buyer consultation. Does anybody else
Mhm.
feel that way? I'm not as confident leading them. Until you've done it 100 times, you haven't done it enough. And I think you can always find areas where you need to improve. And I would also say, Matt, whenever you feel like you're getting objections, maybe the same objections, it's your script is not conveying right or you're not connecting with the people enough. But I think, I mean, you at least need to do it 2 or 3 times a week, multiple times those days. I'm saying like 2 or 3 days a week, you need to practice the buyer consultation until you're 100% confident and know it. Like I don't even need to have it in front of me. That's how much I have it up here. It's just my language. It's my flow of how I because I've done it so many times. And you have to get yourself to that point where you know what's on that next page, you know what to ask. And sometimes you need to not be so scripted and just let it naturally flow because there are some clients that will just naturally flow through the buyer consultation without you even having to do the buyer consultation if you just cue them up. That's when you know you've done a good one, when they just flow. Did that answer your question, Matt? You can't
Yes,
say
thank
too much. So get them to sign buyer agency. Your goal should not be to show them every house they show interest in. I think this is something everybody needs to read 20 times. It's to show them less than 5 houses. It's better for you to preview and gather data and put time in doing that versus just popping off and showing them houses. Don't waste their time by showing and showing and showing again. An older agent told me this many, many years ago. Every time you show them a house and they don't find the one, you're actually creating more emotions in them for you to regulate. And it's so much harder to keep them in the game. Because every time you show them a house that you could have not went to, if you would have just done your research a little more, they're actually trusting you less and less. So do your research on these houses more. Look, if you know that they aren't able to replace a roof or an HVAC in the next 5 years financially, and those HVAC and that roof are 25 plus years old, and you've contacted that listing agent and they're not willing to budge on the price and it's as is, that's probably not a house you should go show those people. But you have to go back to them and say, listen, I talked to the seller, the listing agent. Everything is going to need replaced in the next 5 years. The seller's not willing to budge. I'm more than happy to go show it to you, but just know this is an as is house and take it or leave it. And more so than not, they'll come to you and say, thank you. Thank you for not going and showing me those houses. I came on late and love everything you're saying. I got a copy. Yes, you can get a copy of my slides. And I'm going to post a recording in the private Facebook group, which I'm going to share at the end. Ryan says if you use Loom to create and share videos, you'll be able to track how many times. Absolutely, which is why I love it, Ryan. I stopped doing videos because the average watch time was 10 to 15%. So now it's always in person or a worst case scenario on Zoom or Google Meets. Plus, you can't get real-time feedback or feel 100%. I agree with you 100% on that. Love it. Great for learning, but not for selling yourself and the value you offer, in my opinion. I 100% agree with you. Energy and in-person stuff is where your value lives, and that's where you really connect with people and help move them forward where they want to go. So let's jump into how to properly show a house. So you've done the buyer consultation, you've gotten them to sign buyer agency. One thing that I could see most agents can improve on is actually showing the house and wrapping it up at the end and talking about what's next. But also, going back to the 4 personality styles, and there's a million personality things, but the disc I think is just always easy for me, because it's only 4, and it's to me the tendencies that you see in people clearly from the get-go that allow you to guide them. So how to show a house, remember the disc. So if you've never heard of the disc, so there's 4 personality styles. The D person, the driver, they're dominant. They buy fast, decisive, they focus on results, they want control. They value agents who are efficient, who give options, but who lead with bottom line clarity. How to work with them. Get to the point fast, show them the best options first, highlight what's in their best interest, the investment or the ROI, and don't waste time on BS fluff. My husband and I are both D's. If we've called you to look at a house or buy a car, if we're coming there, we're more than likely making an offer and buying that day. D's don't want you to present yourself and go through the RPD and tell them all the things and go through the warranty manual. We don't care nothing about that shit. We just want to buy the house. So just open the door, let us go in. We're going to look at what's important in the house. You can get in the way. You can annoy the crap out of somebody. I know there's been like 2 times we haven't bought cars because they wanted us to test drive it and do all the things. I don't want to test drive it. Just here's the money. Just let me buy. They're that way with houses too. They'll just come in, look at what they want to look at, and usually they're going to look at a house within 5. I can go in a house within 1 to 2 minutes and know if that's a house for me or not. They're not people that want to take a time and look at every room and know every detail. They just want to go in and look at what they want to look at. So when you show them a house, you just open the door and you just let them take off. And the husband's probably going to go this way if he's a D, and the wife is going to go this way. And within 5 to 10 minutes, they're going to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm ready to make an offer." Don't get in the way. They've already done a lot of research on their own. If they're there, they want to buy the house. Number 2, influence. These are the people that are high emotion, that are super excited, that you just need to let them emotionally buy the house. They emotionally buy, they get excited, they're easily influenced by others. They value fun, vision, lifestyle, social proof, how to work with them. Paint the picture of them having fun in that house. Use storytelling, imagine parties here, keep the energy high, follow up with encouragement, not pressure. D and I people don't want pressure and don't want you telling them what to do. They'll regulate themselves. So a high I person, if I'm showing them the house, Megan is like a very high I personality. She's colorful, she's bold, she's all, you just feel her. You just need to let them feel all the feels. And when they get excited about hosting family dinner here and having 50 people in this house and knowing where their Christmas tree people are probably eyes, right? If they're talking about where they want their Christmas tree, they're more than likely an I personality. You just need to let them flow in that. Don't bore them with the details. Let them get excited and like have an energy high, and then talk to them. Okay, well, you seem to love this house. Let's talk about what we're going to offer next. And then just start going through the offer terms. And I promise you, a D and I personality are the people that will buy the house on the first showing, usually within 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. They're not spending an hour in that house. So get out of the way and get ready and start writing it down. Okay, you seem to like this house. It reaches 3 out of the 5 must-haves you're looking for. What would keep you from moving forward and making an offer on this house today? Or I'll just be blunt and say, what would you like to offer? And then they just start to tell. They tell you what they want to offer. You sometimes don't even have to tell them anything. They tell you. And what do? You just write it down. You make sure that, you're looking out for their best interest if there is any things that you need to look into further. And you just write the offer up and you send it to them. Don't make it hard and complicated. D&Is are sometimes the easiest people to work with because they're good at making decisions and they live in emotions and they make decisions on emotions. S and C people, which is what I looked it up. It's like 92% of the world is a S and C personality. This should be a ticker for you. If you're a high DI, you got to slow down for S and C people. S, people like steady, they're going to be very loyal to you, but they buy at a slower pace. They want safety. They want you to be consistent. They want you to be giving them true information. They want reassurance from you. They are people that you have to tell them to make an offer, that this is the house for them. What they value is trust, stability, family needs, how to work with them. Be patient, don't rush, provide them with all the information and reassurance they need. Repeat information, emphasize on how the home will support and be stability for their family. This is when you need to know a little bit more about them to reassure, like, this is going to be a great move for you. You're only going to be 5 minutes away from your new job. It gives you an hour back with your family. Long term wise, I know it gets you 20 minutes closer to your mom. It's a neighborhood you're going to raise your children in. These are not people that you want to abruptly deliver things to. Whenever you need to deliver things to S personalities, you need to make sure that you've done your due diligence, your homework, and you have a strategy for what's next. These are not people that you call and say, the home inspection was horrible. You can't do that to these people. They need consistency and reassurance from you that you have their back. But they're also people after you've shown them a house. Do you see how my tonality has even changed just talking about them? People like this, you have to slow down your speech and your tonality and be more peaceful. And after they've seen the house, you need to remind them this house reaches 4 of your top 5 must-haves. It gets you closer to your kids' school and to your job. It's in a neighborhood I know you've wanting to be living in for the last 3 to 4 years. And I think we need to make an offer. Here's what I think we can offer. I've already spoken to the listing agent, and here's what I think we need to do. And you just need to tell them. And believe it or not, they'll be ready because they need you to tell them. They don't need you to get excited. They don't need you to be demanding and push things on them. You have to take them through this stable, consistent, peaceful journey and let them know this is the right house for them and that they're doing the right thing and why and how it's going to help their life be in a better place. That's how you move S's forward. And then C's buy through information and conciseness. They're the ones that are more what I would consider like the engineer minds. They need to know everything. In today's world, they've probably researched a lot before they've gotten there. They've known the tax value. They know what houses down the road have sold for. They've looked at the old pictures in the MLS in some way, shape, or form. They're out there floating. They've seen what people have done. They buy through a cautious need analysis of the facts of why they need to buy. They're logical, they're not emotional. They value data and accuracy. How you work with them is you bring them comps, inspection details, neighborhood stats. Be prepared to answer with or to respond to them with truthful answers and documentation. The worst thing you can ever do is lie to them and tell them what you give them a response right now versus an accurate response. They're looking for accuracy and truth from you. Don't push them. What wins them over is logic and answers. Don't hype them up. Don't get them excited. These are the people that probably need to sleep on it and will let you know an answer after they've looked at everything they need to look at. One question I always ask these people after I've went through an hour worth of showing them the house and every property disclosure that I've emailed them and reviewed with them in person is what other questions can I get answered for you? What's holding you back from making an offer? Ask them these questions with more empathy, not directedness, and gather the information they still need to be able to make an offer. Does that make sense? Can you all go ahead, Matt?
I used to be annoyed with the C's because
Yeah.
they're very analytical and stuff. But over time, especially in the open houses, I actually love them because when you bring the data, the market stats, they get super engaged and their eyes light up. And then when you can tell them about what's sold, in the neighborhood and just all the stats, they're engaged and they actually trust you more.
Yeah, 1,000%. It's when you're trying to sell them how you want to be sold is when you don't establish trust. You should want to get the DIS and you should want to achieve getting each one of their eyes lit up. That's when you know you've connected with them as people. one of the slides, it says the home buying process isn't just about homes, it's about people. When you master the people, the homes will follow. You'll make more sales if you learn people more. This is a people business. You have to learn yourself, but you also have to learn how to lead others. So, just to wrap this all up, the one thing I do at the end of every single showing is I review the house. I make them rate the house on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you feel? Where would you rate this house? This is a way of sometimes getting those S and C personalities to talk a little bit more because their minds work a little bit more analytically. I don't always have to do this with a DNI. They've bluntly told me why they like or don't like this house, or they tell me whether or not they're going to make an offer. But these are sometimes the where I have to slow down with my S and Cs. And that's when I have to ask, if it's a 4 out of 5, what keeps you from moving forward on making an offer on this house? And then we talk about offer terms. If we know that it's not the house, we talk about what's next. In today's market, if you're not making an offer, a what's next has to happen. And that's not just in today's market, this is in any market. A what's next is what am I doing to keep you engaged as a buyer? Okay, I'm going to go door knock this neighborhood if we know that nothing else is on the market. Or today we figured out this is the neighborhood you want to be in. I'm going to go door knock this neighborhood. I'm going to follow up with you on Thursday. I'm going to put it on my calendar to door knock Wednesday. You always need to have a what's next action in place to keep them committed to you and to make them realize that you're working hard on their behalf to help them find a house in some way, shape, or form. And then by all means, send feedback to the listing agent. But I want you to really embrace this next thing. The home buying process isn't just about homes, it's about people. When you master the people, the homes will follow. You've got to learn people, and you have to learn that there are different personality styles, and you cannot have a rigid system and process and a way of doing business that's going to work with everybody. You have to change and adapt and to be aware just from the get-go how people reach out to you and how many questions they ask you and their tonality and their directness. You need to start picking up from the get-go of who these people are and how they want you to lead them throughout the process. And I promise you, if you just learn people, including yourself, you're going to sell a lot more homes. I know people and learned people more so than I learned the real estate business. The real estate business I figured out along the way. But I spent the time to learn myself and to learn how, humans work. And then the real estate just followed. When you put them first, the business will come. I promise you. Here's ways to contact me. I'm going to drop in here the Facebook private group really quick because I know there was a few people that asked for it. This is what it looks like. Buyer Masterclass. Let me get the link, copy link. I'm going to put it in the chat before I forget. I would love for everybody to come off mute or drop in the chat just like an aha that you had that you're going to implement in your business over this next week. The discussion okay. Where do you have these discussions? During the buyer consultation, ideally in person Zoom. Yes. The discussions after the showings, I have them in the house or outside the house if I see or hear recordings or cameras up. I go outside the house. I tell people before we go in the house, there's cameras, there's a Ring doorbell. We're going to step at least 20 to 30 feet away from the house and have this discussion, or you're going to call me afterwards and we're going to reconvene and button this up and figure out, is this the house we're going to move forward in? You have to be very careful in today's world what you're saying because everything's recording you. Nest cameras, Google apps, they're all over houses. And I'm telling you, once a week, I have a seller call me. They're going to make an offer. How do you know? Well, I was on the Ring doorbell. Them Ring doorbells pick up, y'all. They pick up everything. I've had also a seller not want to pay a buyer's agent because of what was the conversation was on the Ring doorbell. Yeah, pet treat dispensers also have video audio. Yeah, it's everywhere. Megan says sending the full buyer agency agreement instead of just a amen, sister. I was letting you figure that out. What else is everybody going to implement over this next week, or what's an aha you took away?
Just learn to be more assertive
Yeah.
and also get them pre-approved,
I think at the end of the day, the more you practice, the more confidence you build, the more assertive you can be, honestly. I think oftentimes our lack of confidence allows us to not do our job at the level we need it to. And your confidence comes from taking action. And sometimes that action is just doing the buyer consultation over and over until you build the confidence up. Let's see. Heather, I've been doing surveys, but not in a monkey survey type way. I have a buyer cost. Yep, love that. The full net sheet's great. It's really just like the loan estimate too. And it allows me to have conversations with their lenders too that allow me to like learn the financial world a little bit more too when I dive deep into that, which I think is something we all need to be better at. The market of yesteryear, we didn't have to know what lender programs were good for certain buyers. We didn't have to know, all the things. Now you got to know lender stuff a little bit more. Megan, also, I was chickened out of, yeah. Be more confident. The more houses you show, the less they trust you. Absolutely. What is holding you back from making an offer is a really good closed loop conversation. That is open-ended enough that you're going to get people to talk to you. And it's something I learned when I was in new home sales and I was only selling the 5 floor plans that I had to sell. I learned to ask those questions with a higher level of confidence because honestly, the S&C personalities use that time to ask like, what is holding me back? Is there a question I need to ask? You want objections. Objections allow you to get the information that they need to move forward. And if you're afraid to ask the questions, they're giving you an objection verbally or non-verbally, whether you realize it or not. When you actually ask the hard questions and get them to tell you what the hard answers are that you need to hear, all that means is sometimes you need to go answer these questions for them and they're ready to make an offer. But you're afraid to ask that question, where you're actually like blocking yourself from being able to help them. Ryan, if you show 10 homes without an offer, set another buy, yeah, to reset expectations in a home search criteria. Absolutely. I wish I would have said this last masterclass. We have more buyers in our pipeline right now that can buy because rates have dropped, and we're too afraid to reach out to them right now. You all need to be going back and looking at every buyer that's reached out to you over the last year and doing a new buyer consultation with them and set the expectations of this market. The rates have dropped, sellers are more negotiable. I'm getting closing costs paid for. We're getting repairs done. This market is now for you and get them back in the game. I would love for each one of you just to do that over the next week and see how many people you have sitting in your CRM system right now that you could actually get them in a house right now because the rates are great and sellers are willing to negotiate and they haven't been in 5 years. I promise you there's lots of gold sitting in each one of your databases right now. And share that story on social media too. We always think that the world knows what rates are. The rates are the lowest they've been in years. Tell people. Tell people that story. Buy now, get better, more seller concessions, but wait until rates go down and even further competition will get even harder. Amen. I keep telling everybody that. Now is the prime time. Don't wait till rates drop. It's going to be chaos again. Well, thank you, everybody. Our last one is next Tuesday. We're going to wrap everything up. Matt, did you have one more thing? I see your hand up.
Uh, yeah, just have you ever got a buyer approved yourself? As in you got all their stuff like right there and then, their W-2s, bank statements,
No.
Social Security? No. Okay.
Just because I would say this, you always have to scale yourself up. And when you become a very busy agent, you do not have time to do that. I also don't want people's financial stuff anywhere attached to me that security or anything could be breached. I always connect them directly. I ask them, like when I work with older people, I'm probably not sending them to a lender who only does an online application. I'm going to send them to a lender who will meet with them in person where they can physically bring in all this stuff and handle it that way. And that's why, in our buyer consultation, one of the questions is, what's the best way for me to communicate with you? If they tell me by their land phone or their cell phone only, and that they don't do email and we got to sign in person, I'm not sending them to a high-tech lender. I'm sending them more to a lender who's in person. I never put myself in a position that's going to burn me out doing things that aren't dollar producing activities for myself. So, no, send them to lenders that work with you how you want to be worked with, but also work with them how they want to be worked with to get them to move forward.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys next week and we'll wrap up.
Bye.